Hello and welcome everyone. I am back. It's been a hot minute since I did a stream, and to be honest, I'm slightly terrified and I kind of forgot how to do one, but here I am. I'm going to try my best to talk a bit about what I've been up to in the last couple of months and also what am I going to do now on stream. So, per usual, I'm going to make a game, a prototype that is for a jam, and usually I'm doing stuff for the Hungarian one game a month jam, and this stream is going to be no different in that aspect because I am indeed going to try to attempt to make a game for the June edition of the Havi egy játék or one game a month jam. For the theme, not what you expected. And I'll talk a little bit maybe on this topic a bit more later, but first I'm going to do a little recap on what I've been doing for the last 2 months, I guess. I think I streamed in April, but it was only like a short experimental stream on my potato laptop. And before that I streamed in March, and now it's the middle of June, so yeah, there's been a bit of a break, I guess. But I have been fairly busy, and one of the most time-consuming parts of my schedule has been working on and making sure that that my game development hobby is not neglected completely. So yeah, without further ado, we started a little club, like a meetup, a weekly meetup in my hometown, that is Békéscsaba, with my good friend Tibor, who is also the other half of Laser Magnet Games, our think little indie game studio, so to speak. And this little club that we started called Game Dev Club, I know it's so creative. So it's a weekly meetup which we usually hold in the library in the town. And we essentially put up a few flyers here and there and wanted to find out whether people would be interested in hobby game development. And we essentially found out that indeed there are some people who are interested, and they joined, thankfully. So usually every week we meet up, about 8 to 10 people, so not too many people, I guess, but they are quite active. And some of them are interested in programming, some of them are interested in game design in general, some of them are very talented artists. So we started making a game together in the Game Dev Club. So let me just quickly show you how this game looks. I think I kind of streamed a little bit of development of this game in April, but it wasn't too much. So it's called Timecat, and it's a local multiplayer game. So it's not exactly for single player use, but I'm just going to quickly show how it looks and it works. Let me just put it up to full screen. So it's essentially a memory game, but it also has some action game components. You can enter the game by pressing a button, and then you move around with this little character, which is the eponymous Timecat. And you have to find symbols under these rock tiles by pressing the action button. And once you manage to find 2 of the same kind, then you will, find a pair. So you get a little time bonus. Your time is also depleted as you are walking around, and when you get hit by projectiles, which are fired by these cannons, which move around the level. For some symbols, you get little objects, these orbs that you can pick up. You can use them to deflect the projectiles, for one thing. And you can also eat them at the cannons, like this. Let me just try to time it. Yes. But I also died because I ran out of time. Let me quickly restart the game. So the game is primarily multiplayer, local multiplayer. So I can join with another Timecat, and also with the mouse I can join with a third one. And it's competitive, so you can, it's full of bugs. For example, this is exactly one of the bugs, but it's mostly in working order, although there are a lot to iron out during the summer months, which is our plan, and also to make a proper menu screen, a lobby, so people can join before the level actually starts. And also add the usual boring but important stuff like options, volume controls, input assignment, and etc. So this is one of the projects that we did. I did the programming in this one. One of the guys from the club did most of the art. Also Tibor did some of the art, and we had another attendant, I guess, who made a nifty little configuration tool, so we can customize the rules of the game. This is all in Hungarian, but this is just for customizing some of the rules, like how big is the level, how much damage does certain items do, blah blah blah, stuff like this. There are a few presets at the top. For example, this is a chill out 4x4 level, and you can press this button and the game will open in a new window or tab, and boom, now it's a smaller level and there are no cannons, so this is the chill mode, and you can just walk around. So it's quite good for beginner players, possibly younger ones, so there's no real pressure to frantically move around. You can just take your time and do the level, but still there's an option to play this in multiplayer, of course. It supports up to 4 players, and it's best played on a gamepad because it has analog sticks, which you can use for aiming, which is better than the 45-degree angles that you could achieve using a keyboard. It also has mouse support, but this is also mostly for just allowing the game to be tested easily, because with the mouse you also get the benefit of moving in any direction, and you also get the benefit of like an aim assist, because you can just point your cursor in the way you want to aim, and then yeah, so it's not really fair, but if everyone is using the gamepad, then it's quite fair, I guess. So yeah, this was the main project that we did. Also, I forgot to mention that one of the guys from the Game Dev Club made the music. There's a very good soundtrack for the game, so it's a little joint project that we did. Then we paused it for a little bit because most of the attendants are from our high school kids, so summer break and stuff like that. But the plan is to pick up the game during the summer months, around probably July and August, and turn it into something that is a bit more polished. And we're gonna also make a little playtesting event at the beginning of September. That's the plan anyway. So this is one of the things I did. And the other thing is that I updated some of the open source projects that I host on my GitHub page. By the way, I think I can ask the bot to put in the link for this. So I mentioned Timecat, and now I'm mentioning the templates. So I have a bunch of Construct 3 templates that are open source and available for free if fellow Construct developers want to check them out. I updated the blank template because I have a really opinionated blank template which has a bunch of naming conventions and other project structure related stuff. So if you want to check that out, you can download it right here. Also, I made a template that is called the Flying 3D Camera. Let me just quickly show you. This is also available as a project file. So it's a mouse look controlled 3D camera. If you press space, you can move on the Z axis or Z axis. If you press C, you can also move on the Z axis but downwards. And if you press WASD, you can move on the XY axis, so the XY plane. As you can see, it also has a little implementation of a raycast, so you can focus objects. It has a limitation on the distance that it works, but if you move close enough, then it indeed works, and you can adjust this distance in the project file if you want. And also it has an option to move in the 3D space in the direction that you're aiming at. If you press E, you do just that, and if you press Q, you do the opposite of that, so you're moving backwards just like that. You can press Shift to move faster, and this is mostly it. So there are a bunch of positional and vector data that is displayed. So if you want to make a 3D game or a 2.5D game with a fixed camera perspective, you can use this to set up the right angle and FOV and stuff like that. Oh yeah, by the way, you can adjust the FOV with the mouse wheel, just like that. So if you are making some sort of isometric looking game, you can zoom in quite a bit by reducing the FOV. and then move further. And in this case, the perspective distortion is not that much compared to like a 45-degree FOV. So yeah, I mostly did this to use it for this purpose, but actually you are absolutely free to use this as like a template if you want to make a first-person free-moving type of game like Descent, you know, or something like that. And it also has object focus, so yeah, you can probably make Minecraft if you really want, but you probably shouldn't because this is still Construct, which is a 2D engine. So yeah, this is the other thing I did. And also, I think like 2 weeks back, I went through my itch page and find this little number. It's a prototype that I started making, well, I made in a couple weeks last year, and I wanted to enter this for the Captain Coder's Learn You a Game Jam. It's a super primitive prototype that is a top-down shooter, so you can move around with the WSD keys or the gamepad. You can aim with the mouse and you can shoot. There are enemies that are spawning off-screen, which are going to chase you. If they can see you, they will stop chasing you if they lose sight of you, like this. And you can shoot them, and you can pick up certain hats. And if you pick up a hat, you shoot a different projectile, which has different cooldown, different damage, blah, blah, blah. So it's super basic stuff like this. And I figured that since I put in some time to make this, actually I made most of this on stream last year, but I didn't finish it and I didn't enter it to the Game Jam because, of course, I was making two Game Jam entries at the same time, and I had to make a decision on which one to finish. I think Hedges of Hell was the other one, if I recall correctly. So yeah, since this was, you know, not finished, but it's a quite in a good state for a template, I figured that I should clean it up a little bit and put up the source file. And this is exactly what I did. So you can find this on my itch page. And if you want to download the old version, which I made last year, you can also do that. This is build 7, and this 2015 refresh is build 8, which has quite a bit of cleanup in the code and rationalization and stuff like that, because, you know, I get a little better compared to last summer. So yeah, this is how it works. It has a tiny bit of an issue with frame rate dependence. And the player actually has a little deceleration. So if I stop moving, there's a little extra slipperiness to the movement. And this part is actually handled in a suboptimal way. So if you play this game on a higher frame rate, then this little deceleration effect is not really visible because the player stops completely. However, this is something that you may not even want in such a game. I think Vampire Survivors doesn't really have deceleration, so if you want to skip that, you can just remove the deceleration code and it's going to be completely frame rate independent in this case. So yeah, this is another thing that I did. Let me just check my notes. I think I mentioned everything, yeah. So let's move on to the main bit. By the way, I really hope that my setup is working fine. I have no idea at the moment, but hopefully it is. So let me just show you the game that I started prototyping like a week ago. It's a hybrid between essentially Scrabble and mahjong. So you can select letters. The plan is to allow the player to select letters using the mouse or touch controls, but this is a work in progress. So for now, the best way is to use the keyboard to select something. So I'm just going to start typing some letters on my keyboard. For example, lane is right there. So if I start typing, it shows up at the bottom of the screen. And of course, this is a valid word, so I can just press enter or return and it will get removed. And just like in mahjong, you can only use the tiles that are not neighbored by, this is not a word, on the sides. So you can only use tiles that have no neighbors either from the left or the right. So this is how it works. Let me just enter a few more. So now this is also available. Yeah, these are super long words that I'm entering. And also if I do something like that, it does not allow me to enter this word because it doesn't exist. But if I do something like LOG for log, this is valid, so it's now green. But if I enter another letter, it doesn't make any sense, so it doesn't allow me to submit it. And this is powered by, at the moment, by a open source spell checker called Hunspell, or Hunspell, I don't know how to pronounce it, which is also used in LibreOffice and Chromium or Chrome and Firefox and stuff like that. So kind of big names use this library. And after some experimentation, I managed to integrate this in Construct. I found a couple implementations of Hunspell in JavaScript, but it had some issues loading the Hungarian dictionary for some reason. But in the end, I used a WebAssembly build of Hunspell, which worked quite well. And I'm guessing it would probably mean some performance increase, but I haven't really tested this part. But this means that I can have word validation in essentially any language that has Hunspell dictionaries, although this sort of validation is quite a bit more lenient compared to the usual stuff that happens in word games like that, because in most games you are not allowed to enter proper nouns, for example. And also for some reason, if you just enter a single letter, this also gets validated, but of course I can fix this part. So yeah, this is where we are at the moment. By the way, my voice is probably going to go away because I have a bit of an allergy situation at the moment, so not optimal. So the main inspiration for this was that we recently came across this gem. I highly recommend checking this out. It's by Mark Brown, the GMTK guy who made Mind Over Magnet and a quite popular game jam series. So he recently published Wordplay, the demo for Wordplay, but it's coming out in a month actually. So on the 14th of July. And Tibor and I got seriously addicted to this game. We play this all the time, usually in a cooperative manner, because even though this is a single player, it works quite well as a party game or something. You just sit around the monitor and whoever sees the best word can just shout it out. It's essentially Scrabble and Balatro at the same time. So you make up words, you get a bunch of bonus points, and when you hit a certain threshold, you are given some choices on what sort of extra modifiers to add in the game. And it's really good. It's really, really good. I highly recommend checking this out. And since we always wanted to make a word game, and we always wanted to make a game that features some of the mechanics of mahjong, we figured that since the theme for this month's Havi Egy Játék or One Game a Month jam is not what you expected, we can probably do something that is half mahjong and half Scrabble or something like that, and maybe start the game in the beginning as just like a normal version of either of those games. For example, mahjong. I'm guessing that we're going to start with a normal mahjong-like layout, but then surprise the player by adding the letters and telling them to, okay, now make words and stuff like that. So this is the plan. And I have a little to-do list, of course. So I'm just going to quickly go through the project because why not? So this is how it looks like at the moment. If I start, it looks similar, but I wanted to show you how the camera works actually. So I am going to quickly go into this mode, and as you can see, this is happening once again in 3D. I can move around. This is the bit of code that I showed earlier in the free flying 3D camera stuff template. And I use this to set up a layout or a view for the game. And if I quickly turn back this view, let me just find this bit. It's somewhere here, yeah. So this is how the fixed 3D view looks. So I don't really want any camera movement in the game, but I used the flying 3D camera code to set up this particular view. So this was the first item on the to-do list. Then I made sure that the level is loaded from a file because I didn't want to use the editor to set up the levels, how they are laid out, the tiles I mean. So I did something that reads simple text files that look like this. Let me just quickly zoom in a little bit. So these are just numbers, and one number represents one column of a row, and as you can see, it's 0 if you don't want a tile there, and it's 1 or a bigger number if you want multiple tiles stacked on top of each other. So this means that I can quickly make levels just using Notepad or something. I don't really need an editor, and I can just switch between those. I don't have a UI yet for this, but if I go right here and change the level to this one, for example, which is a mahjong inspired level, quite a big one, boom, now the layout looks like this, and construct allowed me to do this sort of thing with just the internal actions, because I just had to read a file and then go through each line of it and then go through each letter or each character of it using 2 for loops. So this is how it works. The tile sets are also loaded from external files because from the beginning I wanted to make sure that the game can be localized, especially if we are doing with the spell checker based word validation. This would mean that we can quite easily add some more dictionaries for different languages and allow players to play it in their own native language, even if they are not native English speakers. So of course I wanted to make sure that Hungarian was an option as well. So I loaded up an English, a Spanish, and a Hungarian dictionary, and you can also quite easily switch between those. Of course, these languages have different characters. Even if you buy Scrabble in Spanish or Hungarian, you get different tile options because, you know, different letters in the English and Spanish and Hungarian alphabet. So these are called tile sets in the game, and this is the classic English one. So this is what you've seen in the previous run. This is normally a CSV file. And it has a couple of rows. Each row represents a certain type or character of a tile. The first column is the letter itself. The second one is how many of these letter I want in a tile set, which is essentially used for weighing the amount of letters when I'm laying them out on the tiles that I just generated from the level layout. And then value is something that I do not use yet, but this would be used for assigning points to a certain letter. So if a player uses an A tile and puts 2 A letters in a word, they get twice this amount, which is just 48 letters. I don't know why I explained it in such a contrived way, but yeah, I think you get it. And also there's a different tile set or rule set for the Hungarian version, which has these nice accented letters as well. And for testing purposes, I made this little tiny one, so I can just quickly swap it out and change it right here. So tile set, rule set, classic, I guess I forgot to rename this. So this is just, no, this is the Hungarian one. And if I change it to the test one, then only the couple, these 6 first letters of the English alphabet are used and laid out. There's also a joker tile, which right now works as a wildcard. However, this doesn't allow me to select by clicking or touching. So right now, if I want to use this, I can just press a letter that doesn't exist on a normal tile, for example this one, and the wildcard is automatically assigned this letter, and I can just, you know, do something like that. But the plan in the to-do list is to actually turn this wildcard tile into a copier tile, which would allow the player to use any letter that is currently on the layout and visible. but this is something that we might have to think through. So yeah, let me just go through this to-do list. So the tiles when generated are moved to the middle of the layout. You can enter any word using the keyboard. The selection is also handled. If you start entering something, you can use the backspace to remove the last one. Or if you enter something even longer, whoa, we're still allowing numbers. This is suboptimal, but we'll fix that. So if you hold down backspace, you can, use a little timer-based removal. And also, if you do something like that, you can press delete, and the whole word is then cleared, and all the tiles are unselected. So this is how the input works. Word validation removal, blah blah blah. Yeah, this is working fine. So if I remove some letters and these letters allow other letters that were neighboring letters to be picked up, then these are updated. And this is how the game actually works at the moment. And the to-do list, for this stream, I went to add support for word lists as an alternative to using Hunspell. So I might not want to do the whole spell checker based validation because it allows a bunch of things that are not really allowed in normal word games. So I think I'm going to make sure that there's an option to select word list based validation. Then I want to use the randomization of the letters to utilize a random seed. So I can definitely do reproduce certain situations. Because right now, if I refresh or restart the game, I just get a bunch of randomized letters, but there is no seed. So yeah, this should be probably fixed. And also, this would allow me to make a game mode, for example, that is like a seeded run. So multiple players can compete using the exact same layout with the exact same letters, and have a little leaderboard or something. And yeah, they can compete on who can make the most points on a certain setup. So yeah, this is hopefully not going to be too hard to implement, but we'll see. I then want to add the basic UI in-game UI or possibly HTML, but I'll probably do something using normal construct stuff. So I can select the tile set, the dictionary, or the word list, and the level layout. So it's easy to change these settings and just start a new level. Let me just quickly hydrate. So as I mentioned, there are points assigned to the tiles, to the letters, but these are not implemented yet. So I want to do that, so the game can tell me how many points does a word yield to the player when they are submitting a correct one. Also, I mentioned this wildcard tile versus copier tile stuff, so I want to try to do this as well. Now, I don't know how long I'm going to be streaming today, but hopefully I'll get some of these finished. And also, there's a tiny issue that I noticed with the font that I'm using at the moment. Let me just quickly run the game using the normal tile set. Let me just fix that. Let's go back to the English version, which is essentially the tile set from the popular word game Scrabble. So let me just randomize. Yeah, okay. So here's the problem. As you can see, there are these little spikes at the top of the M letter. I did not notice such glitch in the other letters, but it's quite possible that some other ones have this situation as well. Although, I don't know, N is fine, W is fine, so maybe it's only the M that has this issue. At first, I did not use the BB code-based outer stroke effect, and it worked all right. I used the better outline effect by Skyman, who is a prolific Construct 3 developer, who made a bunch of add-ons which are really nice, but then it had some performance issues because it's probably not really optimized for this sort of thing when I have a lot of letters on screen and using a 3D camera. So I'm guessing that calculating the texture took quite a bit of CPU. So I removed this effect and just went with the integrated option, which is the BB code outline back and line thickness. So yeah, but this has this little extra glitch in it. But maybe if I replace the font with something else, then, you know, I can just work around this problem. So yeah, these are the to-dos, and I am going to get started right now. I'm just going to quickly hydrate one more and get cracking. Yup, okay. Oh, I just noticed that I forgot to post on Blue Sky. Whoops, that I'm going live, which is all right, I guess, but let me just quickly press the button. And done. Okay, so I am going to get started. So the current build of the game is also available, by the way, if anyone wants to try it out. Let me just quickly ask the bot to pop in the link. So the project's name is Wordpile, which may or may not be the final one when we submit it to the jam, but for now I think it's all right. And yeah, you can find this this link in the chat. And also, if you're watching the VOD on YouTube, I'm going to put all of the links that have appeared or have been mentioned before into the description of the video. So, okay, now let's see that to-do list. So add support for word lists as an alternative to Hunspell word validation. So as I mentioned, I'm using a WebAssembly build of Hunspell. So here are the JavaScript files from this library. Let me just quickly show you, by the way, this open source library that I'm using. It was fairly easy to implement, luckily. So for some reason, I think I forgot to add the GitHub repo, but never mind, I'm going to fix that. So it's called Hunspell WASM. And I think it was this one. Yeah, it's been a hot minute since it has been updated, but it's still working. So yeah. Also, I tried compiling a newer version of Hunspell, and it worked fine. But I'm not using that version in the game yet. But I'll probably check if it works as well, because it wasn't too hard to set this up. The GitHub repo has a nice little part that says how to do that. I'm now considering that maybe I'm using a different one. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so this is a different repo, but it has the same name. So yeah, this is the one that I'm using, and it has some instructions on how to build a fresh version of Hunspell using mscripton. So it's fairly straightforward. I used Windows and I used WSL, so Windows subsystem for Linux, to set it up, and it was quite straightforward. Okay, let's get back to this. So here are the dictionary files, here are the levels, here are the tile sets, and here's a folder for this external JavaScript stuff. I did not import it under scripts because it has this WebAssembly file right here, this one. And this sort of file type is not allowed to be imported under script. So I had to do a little extra stuff to make sure that the files are actually imported into the project, and they are also available in the web export. And it worked all right. I had to refer to the path like this. So 2 levels up, then JS is the actual folder that you can see right here. So okay, I'm going to make a note of this library right here. And all the parts of this library are actually locally loaded. At first I used the JS deliver service to import it, but then I figured that it should be local, so there is no external dependency. Okay, let's check that to-do list again. So add support for word lists. Yeah, okay, let me just find the word list that I wanted to add. It's also on GitHub. It's called word list by Wordnik, and seemingly it's open source, so it has an MIT license, and it's hopefully, you know, free of copyrighted material. Another option would have been to use an official Scrabble word list, but this would definitely infringe copyright, which I do not want to do. So I'm just going to quickly save this. And I'm going to import this file into my project. I'm gonna make a new folder right here. By the way, if anyone is watching on Twitch right now and would prefer to use a light theme, there's actually a nifty little extension that I added a couple days ago that allows you to do such a thing. Let me just quickly show how it looks. Because actually one of the attendants of Game Dev Club asked me if I wanted to move to the light theme in Construct, and I said no, because I prefer the dark one. But if you open my stream, there's a little icon right here, and you can click it and do this inverted bit. So it doesn't invert this part of the video, but it does invert the main part, the screen cap part. So yeah, you can toggle this if you want. But I prefer the dark theme, so it's gonna stay. Sorry guys. Okay, Wordnik, right. I did not want to use this name, so word list possibly. And I think I'm just going to import it as is for now. Jesus, 2.3 megabytes, that's substantial. Compared to the dictionaries, I think it's a similar size, but I'm pretty sure that the dictionaries have quite a bit more words in them, even though they are in the different formats. So yeah. Okay, and also they are enclosed with quotes, which is, I guess, fine, although I don't think that we really need the quotes. So I can probably just remove them like this. By the way, Construct recently got updated, and all the code editors are using Monaco, I think, which is the editor that is used in VS Code as well. And boom, the quotes are gone. I think this is better. It's a bit smaller as well. I mean the file. I'm also going to remove this last line and save it. So now what I have to do is to put this file into an array, I think. And then hopefully Construct will allow me to look up stuff in this array. So for this, I'm going to have to create a new array. I already have 4. One is for storing the tiles. I mean, actually there are 2 storing the tiles, but I'm not going to get into the details of that. So the rules, I think, are loaded into this one at first, and then I use a separate array which I fill up with the just the amount of individual tiles. 2 nerdy nerds are here. Whoa, I use that first word a lot when I get scared. This one, oh, I mean, yeah. Also, these are quite good. Also, I'm hoping that there are no sussy words in this, because they will in fact appear on the stream. Welcome, and by the way, 2 nerdy nerds, are you gearing up to stream? I guess, yeah. It's it's 3:15, so this means that you are starting in an hour or something, right? Sussy. Is there a word called sussy in it? No, but there's sus for some reason. Oh, yeah. I appreciate the lurk. So yeah, where was I? Oh yeah, so I added this word list. Good. And now I just have to figure out a way to put it into an array. So I'm going to create a new array under the data folder. and I'm going to call it something. I use this thing called Hungarian notation in certain parts. So this is just so I can reference an array easier by just starting to type ARR, which is also very pirate sounding, I guess. But yeah, so I'm going to prefix it with ARR as well, and I'm going to call this word list, or just words possibly. I don't know which one's better, so I'm not going to bother thinking about this too much. Okay, so the loading of the external files happens right here. There's a start layout right here, which is the starting point of the project. And once all the files are loaded, then it moves to the level layout. So I just need to add another Ajax call, because this is how I can load other project files. So there are actually some names previously called enums or macros, which refer to different files. So I'm going to add another one. There's one for the tile layout, also known as the level. There's one for the tile set, which contains the tiles of the different letters and values and stuff like that. So I'm going to add the new one that is called a word list. Or is pirate notation not Turkish? Yeah, Turkish. Did I say Turkish? I think it's called Hungarian notation, and it has something to do with Charles Simonyi, or Károly Simonyi is the proper name of the Microsoft dude who made Excel and all the other Office products at one point, I think, in the 80s. And I think, I'm not sure if he actually invented Hungarian notation, but he was Hungarian and he did use this notation in code in the 80s and 90s, I think. I read something about that on Wikipedia, but it has literally nothing to do with the fact that I'm also Hungarian. This is just a coincidence. So yeah. Okay, let's get back to this Ajax stuff. So let me just copy this. Load word list, and in this case I am going to reference this tag file word list and select the file that we just added to the project as such. Also, this loading of external files happens asynchronously, hence this little icon at these actions, which means that I am employing a little check which checks the amount of files that are loaded, which is quite wonky, but it works. So when the tile set is loaded, stuff happens, and then this onloaded file function gets called, and this just checks how many files have been loaded. And right now there are two, which is stored in this C file count constant, which is right here. So I'm just going to up this to 3, because right now we have 3 external files that we have to load. So yeah, we also need to add an event for handling the uncompleted event when the Ajax file loading stuff happens. So I'm just going to reference this, and I am going to need to put whatever is in the file into the array. Now, I wonder how should I do that, because this file is not a CSV file, strictly speaking. Although, even though there are no commas in it, I can just treat it like a CSV file, I guess, because it has a bunch of words that are separated using line breaks. So let me just think about this for a bit. How did we do with the other ones? We used this one, parse CSV, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it could work. And the other one, yeah, this just gets loaded into a variable. This is not what I want, so let's try to use this CSV stuff. So the CSV is available in ajax.lastData. The delimiter is actually, I'm tempted to say new line right here, but I'm not sure if this is going to work fine, and I have to specify which array to put the data in, which should be this one. Oh yeah, Hungarian, yeah. I wonder if there's Turkish notation, possibly. Okay, so let's just check what happens if I do this. Hopefully, oh, I should start it with the debugger. And it explodes for now. Multiple issues are happening. Let me just disable this bit for now, because maybe I screwed up something completely different as I was doing stuff. Oh, no, I think I know what's the problem. I forgot to call the onloaded file function. Yes, okay. So now we run into the debugger. So it was stuck on the start layout because it didn't check if all the 3 files have been loaded, and now it does. So, okay, we don't need the debugger. We just need the inspector, and we should go right here. And yeah, this is not optimal. So all the words are loaded into the first item, which is not what I want. But I think I can just leave the delimiter as whatever, because it doesn't occur in the file. And hopefully now it will, I pressed the wrong button again. So hopefully now it will be loaded into different elements of the array. No. What the heck? Okay, so word list. This looks like that. Okay. I mean, I already have a plan B, but I don't like it. But maybe I'll just use that. So when the word list is loaded, it's loaded into the R words, but not in a correct manner. Why is that? Because a CSV file normally has multiple rows, so I would guess that each row makes it into a different element of this array, but there's this array instead. Sorry about that. What if I choose a different delimiter like this? Nah, this is still crap. Weird. And if I put this back, did it look exactly the same or slightly different? No, it's exactly the same, seemingly. Oh, no, sorry. Width, height, depth. Okay, so, maybe this is correct. This is just displayed like this in the inspector. Also, I forgot to do something. When you create a new array, it's automatically sized as such. And this is not what I want. Let's go back to this one. The limiter might be 4 columns, not nice. Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. So it's a bit weird because I would expect if I put a comma delimiter which doesn't exist in the file, then the values would be loaded into the first dimension, which is the width of the array, but this is not what is happening. However, it seems to be loading into the second dimension, so I guess I can probably use that. I don't know. The other version is that I can just put this whole file into a variable, which is, yeah, which sounds a bit scary, but hey, it will be just one big variable for sure. And then I can go through this variable and use the token at and token count expressions just to process it into process the lines one by one, which also sounds suboptimal. Okay, I'm going to ignore this bit for now and just check if I can simply use the array, the second dimension of the array. So let me just do this. So the array is filled up and I'm going to add some debug stuff. So I'm going to log to the console and I am going to just log the first and the second word. So we'll see what happens. our words.at, and I'm pretty sure that I have to do this and this. And the second word should be this one. Let's just check this. First word is ah, second word is ah with an H. So yeah, I guess it's working. I mean, it doesn't really matter, I think, which dimension I'm using, so I can just make do with this one. So yeah, good. I'm going to remove those, or I can just delete those. And when the checking of the word happens, I just need to use the second dimension of the array, so the y-axis, to find a word. Now that's not something that I can do probably, but we'll find out once again. So let's check up on the bit of code that does the validation. I think it's somewhere here. Yeah. So I have this function called isWordValid, which has an actual return value of a number. I return 0 if it's an invalid word, and I return 1 if it's a valid word. I could have used the Boolean type, but I do not use Boolean in construct. I think I mentioned this like a million times, but yeah, the problem with Booleans in construct is that you can't really call a function and pass a Boolean value as a parameter, because construct is a bit opinionated on this sort of thing. So what you can do is call a function if something is true with the value true, and else you can call the function with the value false, which leaves you to do duplicated code, which is crap. So I just use numbers, and internally construct handles booleans as numbers as well. So there's no real advantage in using booleans in construct anyway, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, bit of a tangent. So isWordValid is actually doing this sort of thing, which calls the Hunspell library to check the word whether if it's valid or not. So what I need to do instead of this is to, I'm just going to disable this part, is to look through the array and find this word, which is passed as a parameter. So okay, let's see what sort of conditions are available. Contains value, sounds good, but the problem is that I cannot specify the dimension in this case, I think. Yeah, this is why I wanted to put the words in the first axis, which is X. I'm just going to try to use this. Maybe it tests all axes. I don't think that's a word. We'll find out. So yeah, let's just go with this one. Function return value yes, which is shorthand for 1, and otherwise let's go with no. So if the rwords array contains the word that is passed to the isValid function, then it should return yes. Let's go and test this. Nah, I don't think it's working, because I'm pretty sure that run is in the word list, but I'm just going to look it up quickly. Yeah, I'm not going to find it too quickly because it has a bunch of other matches. So let's just go with the good old this one. And indeed, it doesn't go green, which means that this is not working, which is all right. I'm just going to need to figure out a way to either transpose the array or do some other stuff to load it into the first axis anyway. Let me check the... Okay, so the sizing is fine, with the width is 0 and the height and depth is 1, which is correct. But the problem is that I'm passing the words into the second dimension of the array. So what else is there? Nothing. There's only one action, which is called parse for the CSV plugin. Yeah. I really want to avoid the variable and tokenet stuff, but I think I'm just going to do that for now, and maybe fix the performance problem later, even if it arises, because maybe it will be quite fast. So words string, and I'm going to set value of this variable to ajax.lastData. And then after this happens, I need to make a for loop and start at 0 and end at token count words separator new line -1, I guess. I think so. And now I just need to add the freaking words one by one to the R words array. So push, and at the back, and here I can specify the access, which is nice. So I'm just going to say token at words index is whatever is the loop index. Whoops. And then I need to need the separator, which is new line. So this is horrible, but hopefully it will work. So I'm just going to remove this bit and call the onloaded file function after this whole ordeal is done. Yeah, it's taking a while. I don't like that. I really don't like that. Is it doing it? Just taking a lot of time? Probably. Yeah, for testing purposes, I'm going to make a new word list. Just a text file, okay. Word list test. And I'm just going to put some words in it, like too nerdy and nerds, for example. And I am going to request this file instead of the big ass wordnik word list. So now it should be a bit quicker, I guess. Yeah. If I nerd alert, indeed it is. So if I run the game now, it magically loads, and also I'm going to check up on the contents of the array. Yeah, so this is what I wanted to see, but it took a million billion years to do this, or I don't know how much time, because I actually didn't wait for the result, because the word list is how big? It's huge. It's almost 200,000 words in it. So yeah, that's not great. Okay. I'm just going to think about this stuff and decide how to proceed, because yeah, this for loop stuff is horrendous. There must be a better way to do this. I'm pretty sure that there's a way to do this using JavaScript, so maybe I'll resort to that. Or what if I converted the format of this? So it's a single line and the words are separated by commas. Can I do something like that? Not really. Maybe I need to check something. Is this the regex stuff? No, probably not. Why is there no helper text or whatever? Never mind. Let me just put this in Notepad. So I can definitely do something like replace, and I need to check out what sort of new line characters are there. So it's RN, R is for return, which is CR, the carriage return character, and the other one is line feed, which is signified like this if you put search mode extended. So I need to replace this with commas. Boom. It's gonna crunch for a bit. Not responding. We'll be right back, folks. Please hold. It's funny because 200,000 lines just get pasted into the Notepad++ app like this, but replacing the stuff is actually taking a while. Okay, yeah, okay, so there was a little bit of a hiccup, but Now it seems to be working. It's slow as crap. I'm not sure if the stream is actually going to suffer, but I'm going to try to select the whole thing and copy it to the clipboard and paste it right here. Okay, this seemingly went well. So let's just go back here and remove this horrendous piece of code and restore this one. And yes, the delimiter is indeed a comma. So let's check this out. Okay, that was fast. I always forgot to run the debugger. So now I'm going to check out the words. Yep, this is fine. However, we are using the tiny dictionary, which contain only 3 words. So let's swap this back to the original wordnik word list. Okay, that wasn't too bad. So let's try to go for a word that is and it still doesn't really work. So maybe I screwed up something completely different, possibly. No, I just realized what I did. So we are searching on the wrong axis, or maybe we're not. Okay, let's just check the contents of the array again. Yeah, this is going to take a while probably. But all the words should be in the array and on the first axis. Yeah, I know. Try to wait for it, but maybe don't. Yeah. Okay, so this is probably going to be a problem at one point. So let's just put a little extra console log stuff that just displays the size of the array. So okay. I'm gonna have to remove this bunch of debug stuff, by the way. Word list array contains, yeah, this many words, so almost 200k. So it should be loaded, which is good. However, what did I do wrong with the check? It's here, right? No. Is selection valid? Yeah. So here's the function. So is word valid is run right here, and if the array contains the word, then it should return yes. And this is apparently not happening. That's a bit distressing. Okay, I'm going to try something else. I'm gonna remove this piece of JavaScript code, which would use the onSpell spell checker to validate the word, and instead I'm going to do something like set value of this is valid variable to, and now comes the magic. So our words, and I wonder if I can search using this. There's index of, so I guess I can. So if index of, and I need to check up the documentation of construct, how this index of expression works, because I have a hunch that it returns -1 if there is no match. So index of should probably tell me the index of the word that is in this array. So let's just quickly go to the construct docs and make sure that this is how it works. So plugin reference, we can find the array plugin and look for index of. So index of and last index of searches the array x-axis for a given value and returns the index if found at, and -1 if not found, which is nice. So for -1, I actually have a little global constant shorthand called nothing. So if index of word equals to nothing, which is -1, then it means that the word is not valid. So I need to return no, which is shorthand for 0, and I need to return yes otherwise, which means that the word has been found in the array. So let's try to do that. Still, it doesn't seem to be working. Not great, not great. What am I doing wrong? I'm gonna add a little extra logging right here. So word is right. Okay, so let's look for a words. E is not valid, A is not valid. And even if I add this little letter, A is not valid. However, I just realized maybe there's an issue with the case. That must be the problem, I'm pretty sure. So the words that I'm checking are actually capitalized before I'm passing it to the isValidWord function, and all the words are actually lowercase in the word list. So I'm pretty sure that this could be an issue, because there's no way to tell construct to ignore the lowercase uppercase situation. So yeah, so word candidate is right here. Somewhere it's uppercased, but where? Oh, before the display stuff happens. Okay, so is selection valid? Yeah, I'm going to need to lowercase this. Please work, please work, please work. Okay, it works. Yeah, good. Whew. Nice. Dodged the freaking bullet on this one. So there was some extra footwork that needed to be done, because construct is not really flexible on the format of the CSV file, but this is fine. And also now I need to check up this code and fix it up a little. So this is the part where I use the Wordpile, and I want to retain this functionality. So I need to create a variable, I guess, whether I want to use Wordpile or use a word list. And now I'm wondering if there will be a third option for word validation, but I don't really think there is one for now. I mean, so I can just use a single variable to store whether I want to use the word list or I want to use Wordpile. Okay, I think I'm going to create a new global variable for this. And this is just naming convention bullcrap, and now I'm actually thinking about it, so no need. Okay, I'm going to do the proper way, word validation method, and I'm going to do a little string. And nah, this is overkill, but I'm going to do this anyway. So word validation method sounds like a macro to me, or enum, or name. So validation method is shorter, so I'm just going to validation methods, and I'm going to create one called Wordpile, and I'm going to put either of these values into the global variable that I just created. So the other one is word list. So at the beginning of the level, for now, I'm going to initialize this variable, set value validation method and VM word list for now. So by default, it's using the word list. And this means that I need to check right here which method I should use. So variable validation method if it's currently a word list. Then I need to use the new method, and otherwise I'm going to use the old one. So if validation method is not indeed a word list, but VM homespell, I'm going to need to do this. And I think I can probably use this one as well. So is valid is yes, if it was found in this one. By default it's 0, so this could work, I think. And I'm just going to disable this one because we might still need it if it's not going to work like that. So at the end, I just set the return value of the function to is valid. And by default, it's 0, so it's not going to be a valid word. But if the validation word is a word list, and the word list actually contains the word, I'm going to set it to yes. Otherwise, if the validation method is homespell, yeah, I think this is fine. I mean, I could structure it like this, but it doesn't really make any difference, I think. But maybe it's a bit more readable, so let's go with that. And the other version would be this one. Okay, let's check it out. Okay, so it's working, all right. It's a bingo. Good. I'm going to remove all of this browser log stuff because there's a lot of stuff happening. This is needed. This I'm going to disable for now. Also, I'm going to disable this. Yeah, I'm gonna disable these as well for now. I don't think I'm going to need this because these are working fine. This has to do with the selection and stuff like that, which is all right. Let me just dock this right here. Yeah, I'm going to keep this one. And I'm pretty sure I can remove these because thankfully we don't need it. So good. So let's go with, whoops, box. Box is a valid word in the word list, which is good. Is a valid word, which is also in the word list. And now if I set the validation method to the other one, now it should continue to work, hopefully. I'm not sure if with an H was actually a valid word using the homespell method, but we'll find out. So VM word list, and instead I'm swapping this to homespell. Yeah, it actually is a valid word. So yeah, that's good. Now, something that I can check is if I try to enter a word that is a proper noun, because proper nouns I'm thinking shouldn't be in the word list. Let's just check the GitHub repo if it has any information on this, but I'm pretty sure that no, the word noun is not found, but never mind that. Maybe I should check this word list a little bit more and find out whether there are any uppercase letters in it, because there really shouldn't be, I think, unless there are proper nouns in it. Now, I have no idea how to check this. If I would be a better IT person, I would probably use AWK or SED or something like that to find this out, but I have no idea how to do that, or regex. But I'm a reject instead, so I don't know how to do that. Never mind. I'm just going to continue and not bother. So still, I can probably do something like Tokyo is not actually allowed. Oh no, sorry, okay. I'm going to need to think about a different proper noun. Which should be in the Hanspell dictionary. Let's just go for a different level, which has more open tiles. I could probably also make a level especially for this sort of thing. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna create a new file that is just a text file and name it level test. And in level test, I'm just going to do this sort of thing. Oh, I actually need to select it. So level test. Okay, let's run it. Good. Yeah, I can actually do this as well, which is a bit more efficient. Good. So I can just enter Paris, which is not a word, apparently. It's a bit weird because I kind of recall that proper nouns were allowed using the Hanspell method. Did I screw something up? Also, I'm going to supplement this logging stuff. Just to make sure that we're in the right validation method. So yeah, Paris is not valid according to Hanspell, but I know why, because once again of the freaking lowercase stuff. So yeah, how do I tackle that? I guess one way would be to do two validations when using Hanspell, one with the capitalized version and one with the lowercase one. So yeah, let's look where I use lowercase and uppercase and stuff like that, because it should really happen right here instead of here. So I'm gonna remove that bit. And there's some uppercase shenanigans happening in a couple places, but these are for displaying, I think, the letters, which is fine. Yeah, the important bit is that I can pass a letter to isWordValid. Just to be safe, I'm going to rename this value so I know that the word that is passed to this can be any old case, including lowercase, uppercase, because this might change momentarily. So I need to handle the case bit right here in this function. So in the word list, I don't need to care about the, or do I? Maybe later I'm gonna want to do something like allowing proper nouns in the word list. So okay, I'm going to do double checks in both places. So at first I'm just going to lowercase the word that is passed to the function. Set value word any case lowercase word any case. Boom. And the checks should do the lowercase check, and they should also do the capitalized check. So is there a function to do this? Like UC first or something, but that's in PHP, I think. Sentence case, I don't know. Let me just check the construct docs, but I'm pretty sure that there's only lowercase and uppercase expressions. Sorry, I'm in the wrong place. System reference. I wanted to click that. So expressions, lowercase, yeah, uppercase, yeah, and case only exists. Yeah, in these ones. Okay, so I need to create. I don't know what's it called. Is it called sentence case? No, but never mind. So the first letter should be uppercased. Okay. So to make this a bit more readable, I think I'm going to add 2 more variables. Lowercase word should be a string, and I'm gonna look for. It's not sentence cased, is it? Capitalized, right? Okay. Okay. So lowercase, whoops, what? Oh, word lowercase should be this one. And word capitalized should be, now I need to take the first letter of the word, which is word lowercase 1. So left word lowercase 1 should yield the first letter, and I need to uppercase this. God, I really hope that this lowercase and uppercase shenanigans are handled correctly with the UTF Unicode bullcrap. We'll find out. What? Oh. Right, and I need to do a little concatenation. Okay, mid. Yeah. Also, I'm going to check something quickly. Or I could use right. The last n count. Yeah, let's go with that. So concatenation, right, word lowercase and len word lowercase -1, I think. We'll find out once again. I'm just gonna quickly log a bit. Okay, so if I run the game now, yeah, the lowercase version is n. Yep, okay, so lowercase version is this, capitalized version, okay, seems to be working fine. Maybe try an actual word. Okay, this is correct. And now I just need to run the checks twice. So word any case, yeah, first I'm going to check for the lowercase version, then I'm going to check for the capitalized version. And if either of them are valid, I could probably do a little else check. So only check this if the lowercase version was not found. Then I can set this to yes. Okay, so this is for the word list based validation, which is cool. And I need to do something similar with this one. So local vars that word is used at the moment, which is completely incorrect because I just renamed this anyway. So it should be word lowercase at first. And then I can check if is valid is no after this check, because then I can run the same thing with the capitalized version. And I move this right here. For my OCD's sake, I'm going to do it like this. So at first, when the Honspell method is selected, I'm going to check if the lowercase version of the word is valid according to Honspell. And if it's not valid, I'm going to do a second attempt and pass the capitalized version of the word to Honspell. So it has 2 attempts to make sure that the word is valid. Now I can test this and hopefully it will work. So Paris is actually valid according to Honspell, which is good, but it shouldn't be valid using the word list method. Also, I noticed something. I mean, my OCD noticed something. Is valid. Why is there an extra space? Oh yeah. Yeah, these are super important, even though I'm probably going to remove the console log stuff, but good. Nice. Right. So I can just test the other version, which means that using the word list, Paris should not be valid because there shouldn't be any proper nouns in the word list anyway. Boom, and it's valid. What? Maybe this is not the best word to check, because I'm quite sure that plaster of Paris is a thing, but no, this doesn't mean that. Okay, let's just see. It's actually there. Okay, so I'm going to need to find a different one. Check, because this is not the best example. Okay, I need to think about something. Okay, Budapest is definitely not in the word list. Budapest is definitely a proper noun. There's no word, non-proper noun word like that. And now if I set it back to the other validation method, it should be valid using the Honspell stuff, I guess. Yes. Okay, I think we are probably done with this. Possibly there's some bugs, but we'll find out. I'm going to take a little pee break at this point. How long I've been streaming? For an hour, right? Ooh, an hour and a half for one freaking feature. Although there was a little recap at the beginning, so yeah. Good. Also, the nerds are probably starting soon. Right, I'm going to go to the BRB screen and I will be back in like 2 minutes or something. See you soon. And I am back. So let's take that to-do item. Add support for word lists as an alternative to Honspell-based word validation. Boom, done. Okay, so what do I want to do next? So either I go with this seed-based randomization of the letters, or I start the freaking UI, which is always my favorite bit in any project. Or we could do something that is more closer to the game loop, which is, or game mechanics, which is using the points. Okay, maybe I'm gonna go with that. Although the seed stuff probably shouldn't take long, but maybe I'll leave that to the end, because I'm going to have to wrap up in about an hour, so let's start with this point stuff at first. Okay, meanwhile, I'm going to publish, or should I? I probably shouldn't. I mean, I could publish the new version of the game, but nothing really changed at this point, even though it has a new feature, but there is no way to set it in the UI, whether you want to use the unspell or the word list based validation. Never mind, I'm not going to export it, but I'm going to create a new version of the project file and bump up the version number to 12. Good. So I am going to think about this a little bit. So counting points, there should be a variable that just holds the current point value for sure. And I also need to display it, of course. I also need to display the point value of the tiles, which does not happen at the moment. So let's start with that. So let me just quickly show you how it looks in the tile set. So the tile set is, or rule set, I'm just going to rename these to tile set. Naming conventions, am I right? So yeah. Okay, so this is the one that we are using at the moment. It's a normal CSV file, contains a letter, a count, how many of those letters should occur on the level. And also there is a value, which is exactly what we are going to need to use to display and then to count the value of the word that the player has made up. Okay, so all of this actually makes it into this array, and this is just a one-dimensional array, and it actually contains an element that looks like this string, and then I use token_at to spawn this amount of letters and blah blah blah. So yeah, it's not the best, but it works fine, and also this allows me to shuffle this array, which is useful for randomizing the letters. So if there are more tiles than the sum amount of the count values, which is quite normal for big maps, then I shuffle the array, I assign the tiles, I assign the letters to the tiles, and if I run out and I still have empty tiles, then I just shuffle the array again and start assigning them once again, and this repeats as many times as needed. So this means that the amount of letters is actually weighted according to this second value. So the occurrence is roughly the same on almost every time. And also the reshuffling makes sure that there is no proper visible reoccurrence of a certain randomized sequence of letters on the level. So okay, I am going to need to find out the bit where I actually interact with this array, and construct allows me to do just that. So this is where the spawn custom action of the tile family is called, and this is where the shuffling happens. So I keep a little variable called the next tile index, which is by default 0, and when it's 0, it means that I need to start shuffling the array containing the tiles at first, and then this gets incremented as letters run out. And yeah, at one point it gets reset back to 0. I don't know where this happens, but I think somewhere here. No. Next tile index, let's just look for this. Yeah, okay, so it's right here. So next tile index is set to the current next tile index +1, unless it would mean that it's overflowing the air tiles CSV array. And in this case, it gets reset back to 0. So after the last tile is spawned, is this correct? Should be. I'm having second thoughts about that, but never mind. Okay. It's a bit sus, but yeah, never mind. Maybe they should have them first, and then it should be checked if it's 0. I think. Never mind this little tangent. The worst case scenario is we are skipping one letter at the end of the array, I think. So yeah. Still, I need to display the score on the tile. And for this, I'm going to need to add a second object, which probably should go in one of the corners or something. Yeah, I am going to create a new text object, and because I'm lazy, I'm just going to clone this one, but remove all of these instance variables and stuff like that. But since these are family instance variables, I can just remove the new object from the ftile family. And yeah, essentially this is all right. I need to change its size to something a bit smaller, maybe even smaller. Let's go with that. And for now, I'm just going to put it somewhere here, I think. Let's go orthographic for a second. So something like that, I guess. Maybe it should go in the top right corner. Where does Wordpile do the score stuff? In the top right corner, right? Yeah. So I'm guessing Scrabble does the same. Okay, I am going to use that. Okay, maybe it should be right centered, right aligned, I mean. And this is just pure sauciness, but never mind that. So I mean, center is higher up than the mid one. Yeah, alignment is a bit tricky. And I'm pretty sure that it's probably not completely Construct's fault. It could be the font's fault as well. Never mind. So I'm just going to use this. Maybe I should. Nah, I'm gonna leave it as is. Okay, so this should be the tile value, and I need to connect this to this object. So I'm going to add it to the hierarchy. Yeah. So if I run the game now, hey Granger, how's it going? It goes quite all right. Thanks for asking. How about yourself? What are you up to on this hopefully fine Saturday afternoon? I am making a tricky word game or Scrabble-like with some mahjong characteristics. I guess I can say that. Also, I'm going to move back to a different level because it's a bit more visible how it actually looks. I mean, this mahjong stuff. So yeah, it's a word game. You need to make up words from the letters, but you can only use the letters that are accessible according to mahjong rules. That's about it in a nutshell. Doing pretty good, just chilling. Was a pretty busy week. Well, then you are absolutely rightfully chilling then. So this is good. Are you gonna watch the Nerds possibly later? They are, I think, about to start or already started. I can't really remember if they are starting at the exact 4 o'clock for me or 4:30, but yeah, I think they're probably on or very soon on. I'll have them on the other tab. So they are starting at 4 o'clock. Good. Yeah. Yeah, they were a bit tired at yesterday ending the stream, but I mean, it was a Friday and they've been probably working. So yeah, it's probably not easy to do a stream at the end of a busy work week. So they are troopers though. So right. Do you have, by the way, time to do game dev nowadays, Granger? Are there any progress with the projects that you've been doing lately? or are things still quite crazy? Oh, it's rough. Oh yeah, you mean rough the yeah, work week stuff. Definitely, that's rough as well. Yeah. But then again, they figured that having the Sunday to themselves is a better option, and I can definitely see the rationality behind that. Because all their weekends they spent with us so far, so yeah. They need to socialize more, I'm guessing. And in IRL, of course, because they have been socializing, but with us chatters, so it's not the same. Okay, so I need to do something about this opacity stuff going on, because I need to set the opacity of the tiles, but actually I just need to probably synchronize the opacity of this object to this one, and it will be automatically working. Yep, it was a single checkbox. Good. It looks a little bit sus, and I don't really like that the outline is of a different what's the right word for outlines? Thickness. But this happens because the font is smaller than this one, and apparently it's relative to the font size. So I will probably need to do something about that. Also, I'm pretty sure it's gonna get clipped a little bit. Maybe not. Let's move it a little closer. It looks all right, I guess. Okay, let me disable the collision polygons. It looks a little bit clipped, but maybe it's only in the editor. I don't know. It's probably going to look the same. So I will have to probably do something about that later. Never mind, I'm not going to bother with this. I just want this to display the value of the certain tile. And this should happen somewhere in the spawning bit of the tiles. Yeah. So I need to pick the children of the F-tile family. Pick children, and it was tile value or something that I named it, yes. And I need to set the text of this tile value object, set text, and I just need to do something like that. So this is where I actually pick out the letter from the rtile CSV array, and I think or is it? Why is that? Oh yeah, sorry. No, I was an idiot. So yeah, the left one is the main part. So it just takes the first letter, and this is just I think a safety check or something, or parse more like. Also, I'm going to check chat because I was way too focused. So I'm transitioning into contract work. So I have full-time job and contract work. Yikes, that's tricky, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be better in the long run when you only have contract work, I'm guessing. So just finished the contract this week for Hasbro. Holy crap, that's some client and a half. Nice. And doesn't leave a lot of time to work on my own stuff. That whole balancing, well, yeah, I am guessing this is rough, but hopefully, I mean, if your aim is to completely switch to contract work, then hopefully at one point it will allow you to work on your own projects. I'm rooting for you, Ranger. You got this. So you are tempted to quit the current job, which is the educational language learning app stuff, I'm guessing, or maybe you had a different job. I might not be up to date on that info. Also, what do I need to do here? Okay, I need to do this, I think. So I need to check the second index of this, which is this one. This is the value. Okay. And I also don't need to do this left stuff because it would truncate the value. So I'm just going to replace this with int. I don't think I'm going to allow fractional values anyway, so let's just go with int. Okay, it's getting there, but it's a big freaking 0, which is not great. I'm doing something sus. I had to do tokenet or something because these are CSVs. So, oh yeah, I know what's happening. Good. Okay, so because it was the first index, I mean the letter is always at the first character of a line. I didn't even bother with tokenet and stuff like that. I just grabbed the first letter and that's it. But in this case, I do need to process this CSV line. So yeah, I'm going to need to use tokenet in this case, which is fine. So yeah, this is all right. So this just yields the whole line, which is a CSV formatted thing. And I need to do tokenet, this text, and then the second index, and the separator is a comma, which I will need to put into a global constant, I think, for my sanity. And also for consistency. And for not using magic values like this. So I should probably... What should I categorize it? That's always the big freaking question. You know what? I'm going to put it in a different event sheet. Primitives. Why not? Why not? And also, I'm going to look for situations where I'm actually using the literal value of a comma. It's a bit more consistent. It's equally readable, I think, for me anyway. Yeah, that's the goal. I used to do contract work until the pandemic. Right. Yeah, still working on the edtech stuff. Been at the company for over 5 years now. That's quite long. So I guess it's probably not easy to switch jobs after 5 years. I don't really have too much experience with this sort of thing because when I started working, I worked at a company in a classic 9-to-5 setting for 5 years. So essentially something similar, but after that I went full-time freelancer and I just been doing contract work since then. And also I also had a little transitional phase where I started doing contract work on the side while I was working at this full-time job. And after a point, I figured that I'm probably going to make it just with contract work. So I did the switch after 5 years, exactly 5 years to the day. So yeah, hopefully it won't be a too long period and you can do the switch as soon as possible. Yeah, contract work is freaking fun. I don't really like long projects, even if I'm doing contract work, because it's usually it usually signifies that either something is too big for me and I lose focus just normally, or something is too complex, which would mean that I need to work in a team, and I'm not really big on that thing. So I'm a web developer, so I'm really one of the kind of an old school lone wolf type of deals, because I've never had a job where I had to do with where I had to work with other developers in a team, and constantly communicating and setting up the boundaries on which part of the code are we working on. I would freaking hate that. So I just try to avoid this, and luckily, and due to some semi-conscious planning, I managed to skip this work style, and I just work alone usually, or I work with other people who are doing different stuff. So like a graphics artist, UI UX designer, and stuff like that. I'm okay with working with other people. I just don't really like working with other coders because of the communication overhead primarily. And also, I'm pretty sure that many people would find my code horrendous, but yeah, that's just how it goes. Our currently company just doesn't have the growth for me to advance much. And with contract work, there's really no limit on how far can you go. Well, that's probably true, although there's also no limit on how many clients and projects you can take on. So, but I'm guessing that you have more experience doing this sort of thing than I have. So, I'm not trying to say anything like, hey, take care of not to overload yourself, because I did it a couple of times over the years, but yeah, it's only natural. I really had to find out where my limitations are, so where my limits are or something. So yeah, that's what subcontractors are for. Well, that is the truth. Yeah, I wish I had some of those at times. Although I do have a friend who recently transitioned into web development. He used to be a journalist, so he completely changed his career path, and he's been quite good in the last few years. And he also landed a job, but he also did some freelancing, and I had some situations where I was able to pass some of the work which I couldn't take on. Not because it was crap or something, but simply because I was doing enough, or I was borderline overloaded. So I was able to pass some of the client stuff to him, which he happily did. So I kind of have a little bit of experience doing that, but nowadays he's doing a full-time job, so I'm not sure if I can, push too much work towards him. Still, it's good to have some colleagues or friends who are working in a similar field and can take up clients, or take over clients, more like. Right. So what was I doing? Okay. So yeah, it's still not correct, but I did some tokenat action. So let's just find out how this actually does its thing. So this should yield the whole line, which is a comma separated value in a comma separated value format. So tokenat should give me the third value if I press the index 2, yet it's not really happening. So this is 0, this is 1, and this is 2. What the heck? I'm probably doing some off by 1 crap. I'm just going to echo some stuff to the console. Namely, everything about the tokenat stuff. So like this. It's weird. What the heck? So maybe I'm not filling up the array correctly, because it has the letter and it has the second value, which should be the count of the specific tile, but the value kind of is missing from the end, which is weird. Okay, I'm using this file, so okay, I'm looking at the right one, tileset classic en, which is just the normal Scrabble rule tileset. Okay, I'm gonna check how I load this into the array. Okay, I think I see the problem. Yeah, so I manually pass these things to the array. I mean, I only put in the letter, then a comma, then the count. So I also need to supplement this. Oops. And after a comma, I need to also pass the value. Oh no, I'm an idiot, sorry. No, what I'm actually putting in the array is the letter and the value. So yeah, because I'm doing it count times. That's the key. Okay, so I just need to change the index. Yeah, I didn't remember how I did it, so yeah, I just need to do that, I think. Yep. And now we have values on the tiles. However, they are missing the little outline, so I need to fix that. I have a little constant, this one, which I need to substitute with the value. So now it should be outlined as well. Okay, it's a bit tricky looking, but I'm going to reposition the letters a little bit. WebDev is pretty easy to switch to. Well, yeah, I guess I can say that. I mean, I can agree to that. One of the more easy dev jobs to get into, unless you're doing backend stuff. Yeah, he usually prefers front-end stuff, but he did some backend thing as well. So I guess I can say he's a full stack developer, just like I am. So, and he uses the same stack, although he started with, I mean, he did like a state-funded education program or something, and they taught him HTML, CSS, JavaScript, the client-side one at first. And then they moved on to Node.js and Angular and some ancient version of Angular as well. But then I kind of infected him with PHP and MySQL, which is what I'm comfortable with usually. So yeah, he now does that. And, you know, some boring WordPress stuff and things like that, which is, you know, some people don't like it. I have no big beef with it, but unless I have to do something that was that is modifying some freaking WordPress site made by someone else. But if it's a greenfield project, I don't have a beef using WordPress. And also, it's fairly easy to support once you have some experience doing that. And I have like 10 or holy crap, when did I start using WordPress? I think it was in 2009, so it's more like 15 years. So yeah, if I can help it, I don't take on new WordPress clients, but they somehow find me. So usually I do. Yeah, Laravel. Yeah, since I only do fairly simple projects, I've never really used a framework, not Laravel or any other PHP framework. I didn't really feel the need to do so because I'm only taking up super simple custom development, but you know, something that I can do by myself. And I feel like Laravel is mostly advantageous when you are working in a team, I think. But that's just my opinion. Oh yeah, I know that Goob is also doing WordPress stuff, and he's a web developer as well. Yeah. I mean, I think if you are experienced, you probably won't be too affected by, you know, nowadays problems, and by that I mean AI and stuff like that. But you can still utilize it. make your work a bit easier. I mean, I recently started using Copilot and VS Code because I used to do work in different IDE, a fairly old school one called NetBeans, which is primarily for Java development, but it has very good PHP support as well, and HTML, CSS, JavaScript, stuff like that. But nowadays I've kind of transitioned to VS Code because it's fairly good, and it has this nice integration with Copilot, and in some projects I can save a lot of time utilizing that. Yeah, I agree with this completely, Granger. So if you use it as a tool and you read through all the code that it generates, there's nothing wrong with that. It's exactly the same as someone else wrote some code and you review it. So yeah. The problem is when you just when someone just asks the AI to do something and they are not interested in reading it, because then it can contain some really sus things. And also, if you have no idea how to structure your project, it's going to be horrible. But this happened before AI as well, just with junior developers. So yeah. Okay, so now that we have the values on the tiles, I just need to add them together, I guess. Also, I will probably need to store the values in a variable, because I don't really like, I wouldn't want to read the values directly from the text property. So I'm just going to add this to the tile family. It already has one called letter, where I store the original letter that was assigned to the tile. So just like this, I'm going to, I don't really like using the word value because it's too ambiguous, so I'm going to call it score, I think. Even though it's not the best name for it, but never mind. So I'm going to say ftile set value score, and I'm just going to put this after I parse it to an integer. And then I can just do, no, sorry, I'm an idiot. So what I wanted to do is this, and then this token and stuff is going to get replaced with ftile.score. Okay. Okay, I didn't screw up. Good. Let's save, and then yeah, I need to add the little UI thing that just displays the score, and I'm not going to overcomplicate it for the time being. I'm just going to copy this UI text object, which has the role selection, and I'm going to put it somewhere else on the screen. Let's go with the top, but maybe put it in the corner, and I'm going to name it, I probably want to display the score, the total score, and the current amount of points. That's a better name. So yeah, I need to actually add 2 items, or just one, but display both of these values in it. Yeah, I'm going to name this role score. I'm going to reduce the font size a little bit, and let's go with a top right alignment. Yeah, it's going to look horrendous for now, but I don't care. I just wanted to make it work, and then I'll figure out something later for the layout and stuff like that. So I'm going to call this points. So this is where I'm going to display the amount of points that the word would yield the player. And here I'm going to display the current score. So it should probably say something like score and 0. Right. Okay. So this should be probably something like that, or I could just do the usual. Right. I'm going to create a constant for this score, or and while I'm at it, I'm going to rename this as well. So these are just formatted strings, if I'm correct with the terminology, and these are replaced with some value. Okay, I need to create 2 more role enums. One called score and another one called points. Not the best name, but it's fine for now. Also, I'm going to rename this to points. And just as well, I could change these. Not that these are used anywhere. The first line of these files are just skipped. But my OCD leaves better, so. Lafayette, yourself out on things, the same thing. Yeah, I mean, it's being a little bit critical with yourself, right? Yeah. Although sometimes I find myself to be overcomplicated things, and especially naming stuff is like, I have, for some reason, this I don't know, kind of something like an OCD, I think, that I want to name things consistently and unambiguously, and it's not always easy. And I also have a little empty project template in Construct, and it has a bunch of these naming conventions put into them. And sometimes when I open an old project, I have to rename the stuff that I renamed in the new version of the template first before I do anything, because consistency, once again. How many gems are you planning on trying to do this year? Well, not a lot probably, but I would say that I don't know, a couple, I think, like 2 to 4 or something. I don't really have like a goal. Last year I had the goal to make 12, and I did it, but it was exhausting. So this year I had different goals to set myself, and one of those was, I think, to stream more, which I have been neglecting like nobody's business. And the other goal was to write music and make songs, and I have not done that either. So yeah, it's not looking good in terms of this. But yeah, in terms of gems, I just want to do a few for fun. I wanted to do the Tobu gem by Tobugis, but they went on vacation and they postponed it to September, October or something. But I'll be doing that for sure when they will be back, hopefully. And otherwise, I wanted to get back into this 1 game a month gem series, because last year I did 10 gem games for them, and I really liked it because they are super nice. They have this little monthly meetup where they play through all the games, and you can go there IRL, and they have this event in a pub, or you can watch it on stream. So it's super well organized, and I really want to support them. So I'm doing this game for that gem as well, and I will be interested in making a few more gem games for this series. And that's about it. I have no interest in joining big game jams, so I'm just going to stick with some jams by friends and this little community jam, I think. Do you have any similar plans, by the way, Granger? I mean, I know that you're swamped, but ideally, would you be open to do some jams, maybe in the second half of the year or something? Or would you be more focused on your own projects? You're terrible at naming things too. Well, the good thing about refactoring and these fancy IDs that you can change stuff later. I really like this part in Construct. So if I just name a variable something and I decide to name it something else like that, boom, it's done. Magically, it gets replaced in all the places, except for JavaScript code, but I don't really use a lot of that, so it's not a big deal that I have to look for the few mentions of a variable name, for example, or a function name in the tiny amount of JavaScript code that I put in the Construct projects. So yeah, refactoring is freaking good when it's done automatically. Yeah, you prefer doing small jams as well. I mean, yeah, they are just more friendly, more approachable. Yeah. Also, you have a better chance to get mutual feedback from people. It's easier to handle. I attempted Ludum Dare like twice, I think, but I only finished an entry one time. And it was quite nice, but I timed it in a real bad manner. So when I finished the game, I had absolutely no time to go through other people's games and review it, and comment it and stuff like that. And I completely forgot about the whole thing because I was swamped with work. And like a couple of weeks later, I went back to the Ludum Dare site and I received 15 comments or something. And I was like, holy crap, I'm so freaking bad at this. I couldn't even, have the time to reply to those people or to comment their game and stuff like that. I felt really bad. But smaller jams, and if I'm timing it right, are a lot more feasible in this manner, I think. So I can just, play like 10 games or something, definitely doable, and write a few words on those. So yeah, I try to stick with those. I do want to do at least one more jam this year. I do like doing them, just takes a lot out of you. Well, yeah, they definitely can. They definitely can. It's super hard to scope down, I think, for a jam. I mean, for me, usually it is. Especially if the jam has a theme that, kind of inspires you a bit more to experiment with something that you are not really familiar with. So, spending those innovation tokens and stuff like that. I have a bunch of ideas in my idea drawer that sometimes match the themes of a jam, but these are especially usually the kind of things that I have no experience in. And it's tempting, but sometimes I just have to skip it and go for something that I'm familiar with, because I know that I can accomplish it. And yeah, scope creep is a real, yeah. Ooh, Automod had you for some reason for the word creep. They don't know about scope creep in a freaking software and game development channel? Really? Bad, Automod, bad. Okay. Speaking of scope creep, have you had the time to check the podcast by Arimus? Because he interviewed the nerds recently. I think it's in the Tuna the Nerds Discord. And it's a super fun watch, I guess, because it's a video podcast. I highly recommend checking it, even though we are usually quite up to date with the nerd lore, but still it was a really nice and fun and informative watch. Yeah. Are you using the watch later feature on YouTube? Because sure I am. Sometimes it's a bit of a backlog there. Okay, what was I doing? Oh yeah, the value counting stuff, points and stuff. Okay, so I need to go to the bit where the word is actually checked, and I need to create a global variable called score, which will do exactly what it says on the tin. So just store the amount of points that the player have accumulated. And I need to increase this when a valid word is submitted. However, this is not the right place to do that. I need to look up for the on submit or something. Yes, right here. So if the selection is valid, then yeah, tiles that are selected are getting cleared from the board, and this is where I need to increase the score variable. However, first I need to calculate the score for the letters. For debugging purposes, I think I'm going to do like a constantly updating thing, because right now the validation also happens whenever I press a button. So it doesn't just validate when you press enter. So for example, this already is in green, and this just means that it's constantly validating after any removed or added letters. So this means that I can probably this is a horribly named variable, but I'm going to use this for now. So I'm going to use a second global variable to calculate the value, the point value for the current word. Similarly horribly named, never mind, we'll rename it later. So whenever a tile is added or removed, I'm calling this onSelectionChanged function, custom action really, but similar thing. And this is where I need to calculate the points, I think. I need to think this through, because right now there's an array called selection letters, and I'm tempted to do a second array called selection points, although there's selection UIDs, which contains the unique instance identifiers of these selected letters. So I could technically use this to go through all the letters that are selected and just summarize the point values. So yeah, I think I'm going to do that for now. Okay, I'm going to clear this variable first. Set value, what was it called? Something horrendous, selection point value. So I'm going to set it to 0. This is not going to be my best code, but never mind, it's gonna work, I think. So after that, I will need to do a for each on this R selection UIDs array. For each element on the x-axis, I am going to need to select tiles by their UIDs. So our selection UIDs dot cur value, I think, is going to hold the value or the UID, and I just need to add that tile's point value to the selection point values variable. Tile dot, and what was it called? Points? Yes. And after this happens, yeah. Actually, I'm going to do this picking stuff a little differently. So this is where I update the UI text element with the role selection, and I need to do something similar but with the other role that I just created called points, and I need to set text, UI text, set text to selection point value, and I'm going to concatenate something like points, although to be correct, I need to check if this is 1 at first, because if it is, then I need to concatenate point to it. Slightly saucy, but let's see if it works. Pretty good. It's still missing the old not border, strike or stroke or whatever it's called, so the outline for the font. So I'm just going to fix that. I mean, it's working. Okay. I think I'm fine with this, and now I just need to update the score after a word is submitted, and I'm just going to rely on this global variable that I created called selection point value, which is horrendous. Let's go with selection points, which is a bit shorter at least. And I'm just going to add it to the score, and I need to update, of course, the right UI element, which is this one. Okay, so I need to hook into onSubmit, which is right here. And if the selection is valid, then I can just do exactly that. So I'm going to retrieve or pick the right UI text object with the role score. And yeah, at first I need to add the actual selection to the score. So I'm going to say add to the score variable the selection points variable. And also, just to be safe, I'm going to set it back to 0. So set value selection point 0. Good. Yeah, and the text should be just updated with yeah, text, set text, do the string sub thing, and this one, score, and also the other one, the BB code borderline or outline thing. Okay, I also need to run this once, so I'm going to need to put this in a separate custom action, I think. So I can just probably do something like UI text update score. This I can probably name update selection endpoints. No, I'm not going to bother with that. So update score. UI, no, let's just copy the stuff. This one. Bang. Okay, so I need to call this at the beginning of the level and also from here. Right. So the beginning of the level is right here in init level. I'm just going to call the update score. So it says score 0 at the beginning. Pirate should yield 8 points, and indeed it does. And then I can say something like queen. No, it doesn't. I don't have 2 E's. Okay, let's go with money. Boom. Yeah, it doesn't look good, but it works. So yeah, I think I'm going to display and count points is done for now. Although this is just a simple addition, so working is the important part, exactly, especially when I'm doing stuff on stream. So I could spend a bunch of time experimenting with how the UI layout should look, but this is freaking boring. I don't really like doing that anyway, and I definitely don't want to object other people to this sort of thing. So yeah, I'm just going to do something that is more mechanical or something. So use seed to randomize letters is the next one on the to-do list. Also, it's 5 o'clock, so I'm tempted to do this because I'm guessing it shouldn't take long. Famous last words. But I also kind of need to get going soon because we're gonna have a little bit of a barbecue today because it's freaking amazing outside. It's not too hot, but it's sunny. There's a bit of wind, so just a tiny bit. So should be a fun Saturday afternoon. But I think I'm going to try to tackle this seeded random thing just to see if it's super easy or if it's a bit more complex. And if it's a bit more complex, I'm probably not going to finish it. However, there's a good chance that it's going to be super easy. So I can either do this in JavaScript or I can just utilize the advanced random plugin in Construct, which is a stock plugin. And this one allows to specify a seed. And you can also do something that's called replace system random. So anytime you're doing something with random in Construct, like, yeah, I don't actually do, so the random expression is not called anywhere. But what I do is the shuffle an array stuff. So the tiles are loaded into this rtiles array, and when the level is loaded, all the tiles are empty. And then I start assigning the letters to the tiles in a, I think, starting from the first tile and just going through it. But so that they are random, I first shuffle this array so the letters are actually randomized completely. And after this is finished, all the letters from the array are used and there are still empty tiles. I'll just reshuffle the array and continue assigning the letters to the tiles. This is how it works. So I'm guessing that this shuffle stuff is also, you know, a random action essentially. So if I check replace system random, this just means that the randomization or the shuffling of this array is also happening through the advanced random plugin. This is what I hope happens, but we'll find out if it actually does. So if I specify a seed just right here in this plugin, although I can do this with an action as well, this means that if I restart the game, it should yield the exact same layout with the exact same letters. So I'm going to test this, run it. So, and if I restart the game, it's not consistent. No, it's not. Well, that's not what I expected. Let me check the documentation quickly. Damn. What the heck is happening? Uchi, welcome in. What is up? Thank you for the raid. You are super nice to do this. Arcade closed, the nerds are here. Nice. And it's a good thing that you say that you're nerds because we are probably quite finishing quite soon because I also need to get going. But first I'm going to struggle a little bit with something that I just started. How was your stream, by the way? What did you do? Did you do dev or did you do gameplay? Diamond, hello, welcome in. How are you fine folks doing? Also, I am going to need to make a shout out because Uchi is actually a Hungarian developer who streams in English. He usually does Pico 8 development with some Lua based stuff. So, I mean, if I'm correct, whoops, this is OBS. Please hold. So yeah, Uchi is super nice, and also this stuff that he does is wizard level. I mean, compared to my stuff, definitely. So let me just find the chat app. Where did I move it? Okay, I got it. And I'm gonna make a little shout out because Uchi is super nice, and you should follow him. Did I do it right? Seemingly. I was learning Love 2D because learning how to do a map and, basically learning how to do map and tile-based movement, neat. Don't dump. Okay, I'm not going to downplay myself anymore, but still, you're a proper programmer and I'm adjacent, you know. Yeah. So how do you find Love 2D so far? By the way, if you have to raid and run, go for it. But if you have a little bit of time, I would love to catch up a little. Which ID are you using for Love 2D? Because I know that there are a couple of specifically Love 2D IDs, but maybe you're just doing stuff in VS Code or something. I'm not sure. Okay. I might have pressed some wrong buttons, but hopefully not. Yeah, VS Code. VS Code Andy. I have never heard that expression before. Why Andy? And also, what sort of game are you doing with the tile-based movement? Is it going to be a dungeon crawler? This is my first question. Or is it even a game where you're just strictly experimenting with the features of Love 2D? Okay, so Advanced Random. Yeah, I was at Advanced Random and it was not doing what I wanted it to do. And I was going to check the documentation. I was confused with a few stuff today. Things not fully making sense, having to set different filters for images, even though you have a default scaling filter. So you have a default one, but you can still specify a different filter for each image and override it or something, I'm guessing. I have an old game called Druid Dash, basically a sliding movement puzzle game. Think of the Pokemon Ice Rooms. Well, I would, but I am such a freaking uncultured piece of that I don't know the Pokemon games. And I have no idea what the Pokemon Ice Rooms means, but I'm just gonna Google it and rectify that mistake. But sliding puzzle sounds good though, so I have a vague idea what sort of game it is. Yeah, I think I know. I mean, this ice puzzle thing where you can only move in a direction and yeah, you have to hit a wall or something. I think I know this genre. Now let me just fix the overzealous automod. Oh, Playmaker, hello, Hollywood, mi a helyzet? Yeah, Uchi also said, yeah, I needed to set one for the image because it didn't give the flying turd about the default nearest filter. But then you tackled the issue, right? So this is good. You gonna stick around with Love 2D, or I'm hoping, because I think you mentioned before that you are venturing into this high resolution and I mean, compared to the Pico 8 high resolution land of game development. Also, is Lua exactly the same in Pico 8 and in Love 2D, or is it like a different dialect? Jó van, na az tök jó, örülök, hogy benéztél. Utcán streamet nézni, ez is micsoda fiatal dolog. Na hát. Mondom én, aki folyamatosan a Twitch-en lóg, de hát na. I was also looking for the advanced random stuff because something sus was happening. Yeah, so this can also be used to override the system random function covering the random expression and any randomness used in behaviors. So my question is that, am I an idiot? Am I misinterpreting something, or should construct actually utilize this random generator stuff when I'm shuffling an array? Because seemingly it does not. Or I am making a mistake, which is more likely. Sometimes, yeah. In a random order, yeah. But it doesn't seem to do that. So if I set a seed here and I say replace system random, I would expect that any shuffling that is done should also utilize this. Crap. Let me look around a little bit. Damn it. That's not great, because this probably means that I cannot use the shuffle action on the array. Crap. Oh no, Ichi, you're totally fine. I mean, we have not too many people here, but Granger, for example, who is here, is he doesn't speak Hungarian, so I think it's totally fine if you express yourself in English. I tried to get back into streaming because I wanted to practice my English, so yeah. But yeah, you can definitely switch to Hungarian. I mean, up to you, up to you. Azt mondták, mozdulja ki, ja, értem, aha. Maximális kocka dolog. Okay, I kind of missed a few messages, so I'm gonna scroll back a bit. Maybe mostly from Pico, yeah, to Love 2D and Playdate later, huh? I kind of see a lot of devs venturing into Playdate on Twitch. I mean, Twitch devs who stream development, and I see these people popping up new Playdate games. Is there something big happening or something? Because the Playdate has been out for a couple of years now, right? Because on older core with missing stuff and added stuff, right? Yeah, I would have guessed. So the Lua interpreter in Love 2D is probably more modern and has new features and stuff like that. Skill issue, which part? But yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna need to get rid of that, which means that it's a freaking problem, because shuffling the array yeah, I think I might have a workaround in my head. But it's so freaking bad. I mean, shuffling literally says random in the documentation, so it should be using the advanced random plugin, right? I mean, I'm probably going to ask around the construct Discord if someone encountered that, or maybe I'm just doing something completely wrong. But maybe I'll even raise a ticket at Skira, because this is inconsistent behavior, I think, a little bit. Or not what it says on the tin, at least. Also, I need to do the shuffling by hand and using the advanced random, I think. This is probably gonna be the best course of action. They found a lost shipment and got a few new ones, so the queue is not that long anymore to get one. Oh, right. Okay. Got it. For the Playdate stuff. Gotcha. Found a lost shipment. What the heck? Oh yeah, because they were like swamped and there was like a huge waiting period if you ordered one. I had no idea about this. Also, Season 2 released, which is their weird scheme to release officially approved games, a catalog that releases 2 games every week for a few weeks when you buy the whole bundle. So there's a big buzz around that as well. Gotcha. So it's definitely not a coincidence then. This is nice. Yeah, alakul a molekula, igen egyébként. Alakulunk, így néz ki most jelenleg a játék. Lehet írni be szavakat, egyelőre a billentyűzettel leginkább, és most angolra van állítva a cucc, de amúgy tud magyarul is. Például ez, de hogyha olyan szót írok be, ami nem létezik, akkor nem zöld, azt nem tudom beküldeni. Hogyha meg egy ilyet írok be, ami létezik, akkor meg zöld, és meg tudom nyomni az Entert. Ugye írja, hogy erre 7 pontot fogok kapni, mert összeadogatja a 1 meg 2 az 3, meg 3 az 6, meg 1 az 7, jól számolt, remek. És akkor, hogy nyomok egy Entert, akkor a score az növekszik. Szóval ezt raktam bele most legutóbb, ezt a remek feature-t. Your truck accidentally got lost. Right. So it wasn't the marketing department who diverted it. Right. Okay, got it. So it took a few months to get one like a year or two ago. Oof. Then again, it's quite a niche product, so I'm guessing that people who order a playdate are not really angry about this sort of thing, because I'm gonna say it's a little bit hipster, I think, but it's a really cool device and it looks freaking amazing. And the little I'm skimping on the word. Tekerentyű is also really neat. De akkor ez csak azokat a szavakat tudja, amiket beraksz egy arraybe, ugye? Hát nem. Vagyis hát úgy van, hogy lehet olyat is, azt is pont a mostani streamen tettem bele. Tehát van egy olyan szituáció, hogy van egy szólista, amilyen gyönyörűen néz ki, egy sor és vesszővel elválasztott szavak vannak benne, és ilyen. Azt hiszem, hogy durván, nem is tudom mennyi volt már, 200 000 szó környéke, de annyi nincs benne talán. Ez nagyon soknak hangzik. Lehet, hogy nem 200 000 volt, lehet, hogy 20 000, nem tudom. Mindegy, sok, nagyon sok szó. És amúgy kiírja a játék, amikor elindítom, úgyhogy mindjárt megmondom. Hát igen, 198.422 darab szó van ebben a szólistában. Tehát, hogy vagy ezt használja, vagy pedig, amit eredetileg beleraktam ebbe a fantasztikus prototípusba, az meg nem olyan szólista alapú cucc volt, hanem konkrétan van egy helyesírás ellenőrző szoftver, amit úgy hívnak, hogy Hunspell, és nem véletlenül, mert eredetileg azt hiszem pont arra találták ki, hogy a fantasztikusan egyszerű magyar nyelvvel is működjön. És a Hunspell az nyílt forrású cucc, de azt hiszem nem tudom, C-be vagy valamilyen nagyon klasszikus ókori nyelven van írva. Viszont vannak emberek, akik átírták JavaScriptre, és akkor az első köröm az azzal telt, hogy kerestem egy Hunspell implementációt JavaScriptben, mert hogy azt ugye én be tudom drótozni elég könnyen a constructba. És találtam is, vagy 5-öt, mindegyiket kipróbáltam, és mindegyik nagyon jól működött, egészen odáig, amíg nem akartam egy magyar szótárat berántani, és hát nyilván az volt a fő feature, hogy tudjon már magyarul a játék, mert milyen király lenne, hogyha csak átállítod, hogy milyen nyelven akarod ugye a játékot játszani, és akkor bum, tud magyarul. Na mindegy, szóval, hogy az angol szótárat megnyitotta, a spanyol szótárat megnyitotta, még egy-két nyelvet aztán leteszteltem, azokat is megnyitotta, a magyart nem. És akkor utána elindultam egy olyan irányba, hogy mi lenne, ha nem ilyen újraimplementált JavaScript-es Hunspell portokat próbálnék ki, hanem magát a Hunspell-t lehetne beröffenteni. És hát szerencsére már erre gondolt valaki, és akkor mscriptennel át lehet WebAssembly-be fordítani a Hunspell-t, ott van a jó kis wasm file, és akkor ezt használja a cucc most jelenleg, és ez megeszi a magyar szótárat is meglepő módon, vagyis hát nem meglepő módon, mert hogy na, ez lett volna az ideális mondjuk a JS portokkal is, de mondom, azok nem működtek. Úgyhogy most jelenleg úgy is tud működni a cucc, ha átállítom, hogy nem a szólistát használja, hanem a Hunspell-t. Most amúgy jelenleg úgy van beállítva, most a Hunspell-t használja, tehát mindjárt mutatok egy csát. Még nincs UI benne, amivel lehet választani nyelvet, meg ilyenek. Ki lehet választani, melyik pályán menjél. Ki lehet választani, hogy milyen betűkészlet legyen, tehát mint a Scrabble-ben ugye, hogy milyen kis tájlok vannak. Itt most kiválasztom azt, ami a magyar, hogy legyenek benne ékezetek. És itt pedig kiválasztom, ezt nem választom ki, ez a szólista, ez igazából most nekünk tök mindegy. Amit ki kell választanom az az, hogy a magyar szótárat töltse be a Hunspell. Az pedig itt történik, és most ilyen szuper paraszt módszerrel ezt át fogom írni. És akkor, ha így indítom a játékot, akkor mindjárt találok egy jó magyar szót. Nyilván beíratom, hogy út például, de hát az mondjuk elég rövid. Kút, az már egyen hosszabb, és akkor voilà, működik, tud magyarul validálni. A Hunspell-es cuccnak viszont megvan az az előnye-hátránya, hogy nem úgy működik, mint általában ezek a szókirakó játékcuccos puccosok, mert hogy azokban általában nem lehet mondjuk tulajdonneveket használni. A Wordpile meg, mivel ugye helyesírás ellenőrző, ezért ő ismer egy csomó tulajdonnevet, amire azt mondja, hogy jó. Úgyhogy ezzel számolni kell majd ilyen játékszabály szempontból, hogy ezt nem nagyon tudom valószínűleg ugye kiszűrni, de ez nem is feltétlenül baj. Nézzük közben csatot is. It certainly is hipster. If I recall correctly, most users are also devs. Well, yeah, I would guess so. I mean, you can freaking tinker with it as far as I know. So the SDK is open, everything is open, and you can put anything on it, I think. Can you fetch an online Word database with construct? Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I just explained it. So you can either do the spell checking stuff, or you can just load a big freaking word list and use it. So yeah, although with word lists, there's a little bit of a sussy situation because some of the word lists I found online are not exactly open source or, you know, freely licensed. So I might have to make some compromises. I did find a good word list in English, but all the Hungarian ones I found so far, and I haven't spent too much time on it, but the Hungarian ones I found were, I think, encumbered with copyright issues, to say the least, because they had absolutely no, you know, source material specified or any license or anything. Mi az a vonal az O mellett? Behúzza a kérdőjeleket, és ja, ez úgy van, hogy az most ilyen wildcard cuccos, tehát beíratok egy mondjuk X-et, mert az ugye alapból nincsen, és akkor abból X lesz. Bármilyen betűt most jelenleg beíratsz, ami nem létezik amúgy, most egy hosszú I szintén nincs a táblán, és akkor mármint, hogy nincs elérhető, amúgy van egy, csak azt ugye nem tudom kiválasztani, mert hogy sötét, ja, itt van. Na mindegy, szóval, hogy azt lehet használni most bármilyen betűnek, és akkor azt most csak beütöd a billentyűzeten és átalakul, cserébe 0 pontot ér, de attól még meg lehet vele oldani egy szót. Ja, a faszának faza, csak az a trükk még vele, hogy úgy akarom megcsinálni a játékot, hogy lehessen ugye touchscreenen is nyomatni, meg egérrel, meg nem tudom micsoda. Most egérrel is nagyjából össze lehet így rakni, mondjuk még nem csináltam meg, hogy legyen egy gomb, amit megnyomsz és beküldi, szóval az most enter, mindegy. De hogy az a trükk ugye, hogy ha így rákattintok egy ilyenre, akkor még ott ugye meg kéne adnom, hogy na jó, de milyen betű legyen belőle, mert hogy még a szólistás módszernél ugye, hogy tudok keresni úgy, hogy ilyen részleges egyezés, ugye, meg nem tudom, wildcard, meg hasonlók, viszont a Wordpile-es metódusnál ott nagyon nincs ilyen, maximum valami suggestion tudok használni, meg ilyenek, nem akarok ilyenekkel foglalkozni. Azt akarom, hogy a játékos eleve mondja meg, hogy milyen betűt akar ugye megadni. És akkor most ez egy érintőképernyős UI-on, ott akkor föl kéne jönnie, nem tudom, az összes betűnek, vagy valami hasonló, ami nem tetszik. Úgyhogy arra gondoltam, hogy ezt a wildcard cuccost, ezt úgy fogom átalakítani, hogy csak olyan betűket lehet használni benne, ami valahol rajta van a képernyőn. Ami kicsit olyan újdonság is, meg nem tudom is oda, de és akkor meg lehetne azt csinálni, hogy még rákattintok, és akkor utána ki kell jelölnem egy másik, szintén látható betűt, akár olyat is, ami sötét, és amúgy nem kijelölhető, és akkor azt lemásolja, és akkor az ilyen klónozós style lenne inkább ez a terv. Aztán majd meglátjuk, hogy működik. Ja, úgyhogy itt tart most jelenleg a parozsé. És hát ezzel az Advanced Random cuccal megszívtam, mert hogy azt akartam megcsinálni, hogy lehessen seeded run-t csinálni, ugye, amikor valami seeddel van inicializálva a véletlenszerűsítő algoritmus, és akkor meg tudnám azt csinálni, hogy eleve tudom reprodukálni elég könnyen a egyes layoutokat, tehát hogyha valahol gebasz van mondjuk, akkor csak elküldi a seedet, és akkor meg tudom nézni, egyfelől az azért jó, másfelől meg azért lenne tök jó, mert akkor tudnék olyan játékmódot csinálni mondjuk, hogy van ez a klasszikus napi seed cucc, vagy ilyesmi, és akkor lehetne versengeni, hogy az adott napi seedből, ami ugye akkor mindenki ugyanazt a layoutot ugyanazokkal a betűkkel kapja, ki tud a legtöbb pontot elérni. Na mindegy, úgyhogy majd ezzel még cselezni kell. Viszont I'm going to switch back to English, and I think I'm going to wrap up, guys, because it's 5:30 and I really need to get going. So I am going to check on the to-do list. So this use seed to randomized letters bit is not going to get done today. However, I might try to think about it today a bit, and maybe I'll have some better idea on how to tackle that, because the problem is that Construct has a nice seeded random generator, but the array shuffling thing that I'm using is not using it, so it's not seeded when I shuffle an array, which is not great, but I can definitely work around that. It just depends on I don't know, how should I do it? There are a couple of ways, but I'm gonna find one that works. And then it's off to beautiful UI land, because I need to add some configuration UI, even for this development build, where someone can select the tile set, whether they want to use a word list or a dictionary, and if they want to use dictionary, which dictionary they want to use, stuff like that. And also I'm gonna add some level selector, because there are already a couple of levels. The levels are just text files that look like this. They are fairly readable. Where you see a 0, this means that there's no tile there, and if there's a number that is bigger than 0, that just means how many tiles are stacked on top of each other. So it's quite easy to edit levels just using a simple text editor. And I need to add like a combo box or something for temporarily that allows selection between different levels. So yeah, and this is the copier tile bit, which I just explained in Hungarian. So I want to replace the wildcard tile with a copier one, where you can only make it copy a different tile that is already on the board and visible. So yep, these are going to get probably made, either some of them tomorrow, possibly. I'm not sure if I'm going to be streaming. I mean, I have a hunch that I'm not, but who knows. But next week I really want to be back and yeah, get moving on this project, because even though we are doing pretty good time-wise, we still have 17 days, Jesus, to finish the game for the Havi egy játék or one game a month jam. I really want to experiment with the different variations. We have a bunch of ideas which are, some of them are inspired by Wordplay. By the way, play Wordplay, guys. I'm gonna pop the link in chat because it's a freaking awesome game. And also, we need to polish it because it looks like a turd at the moment. Tali a héten akkor úgy. Config oda? Hát még az is felmerül amúgy. Lehet, hogy azt kéne. Lehet, hogy nincs kedve megcsinálni, és lehet, hogy valaki másnak, ha van kedve megcsinálni, akkor esetleg megcsinálhatja. Majd erről beszéljünk úgyis csütörtökön. Igen. Csütörtökön Game Dev Club. Szóval, ja. Ottali. Na, köszönöm szépen a figyelmet. Thank you for the attention. I am going to look for a raid target because I need to wrap up real soon. 1 second. Also, I'm going to check if I missed any chat messages. Data seed is is like the best thing you can add to games. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Wordle and stuff, they are essentially daily seeded things. So thank you, Archie, for the raid, and thank you for the interaction. I appreciate it a lot. And yeah, where are we going to go? Let me just... I mean, I have a hunch that the nerds are up, so we could go there. Yeah, let's go with the nerds. So I'm going to set up the raid. Thank you once again. Oh yeah, it's my alarm as well. So thank you once again for sticking around, and see you next time, which I have no idea when it's going to be, but hopefully next week sometime. So bye now.